south. Um, always wanted to come here, and now we're here. My wife Lisa and Kyle and Sherry were able to make it here, so it's good that we can be together, and even if it's a small group, it's a blessing to be here and get encouragement. I appreciate Isaac and Tina that they have a heart for people here in the south. May God bless them, and may the church continue to grow here. We've been involved in the deaf ministry for, I don't know, maybe almost 15 years, but I still don't speak sign language. So yeah, my wife does some, and Kyle, you saw Kyle, Sherry, they do, but I somehow didn't do anything. But I'm glad we can still speak to an interpreter. And so let's see. Children were a bit disappointed. They had not known that I would speak here. They thought they would see Isaac preach. They like to see Isaac preach, but he wanted a break today, so he gave me the option to preach. So maybe a little bit different. You're used to hearing him, but today it will be a little bit different. You'll have to repeat what I am saying. So why are we here in this life? What happens when we die? Is there anything after we die? After this life, there will be a judgment, and then you will either go to heaven or you'll go to hell. So it's a very big difference what we do in this life. If we have accepted Jesus as our Savior, then we can go to be with Him forever, which is a way longer time than just being with Him here. This life is just very short compared to what is after this life. So it depends on our choices. Have we accepted Jesus? And then if we did, do we continue making the right choices? It's very important. Those choices in life are very important to what we do. They come in small, sometimes it's just small little choices that we make, but at the end they go towards a destination. They go towards a place where it is a huge difference. And as I said, heaven, that's to be with Jesus in all eternity, or hell, it is to be with Satan, to be tormented with him in the fire. Let's look a little bit in the life of Abram. Abram was called out in Genesis 12. We read about how God called Abraham. God called Abraham to leave his home country. And I'll just read some verses here. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Then Abram took Sarah, his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran. And they departed to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land of the place called Shechem, as far as the tamarisk tree of Moreh, and the Canaanites who were there in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." And there we built an altar to the Lord, who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. So God called Abram to leave his family. He wanted him to move away, but he did not tell him where to move. He just had to trust God. And God gave him a great promise. God gave him a promise that he would inherit the land. But Abram didn't know where that land was. And Abram was obedient. He listened to God. He and his brother's son, Lot, and his wife, they traveled to a faraway country. And then he did not live in houses. He just lived in tents. He kept on moving. His home was not a permanent one. He moved from place to place, going from one place to the other. God had promised a great nation from him, but he had no children. But Abram still believed. God blessed Abram very much. Their flocks, their herds grew. They had many cattle, sheep, and camels, and so there was not enough grass for him and Lot's herds. And the shepherds began to fight. Abram was a man who liked peace. He did not want fighting. And then we read in chapter 13. That's where he says to his nephew, to Lot, "Let there not be strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." Abram was totally open. Whatever Lot wanted. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord. It was still before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It was like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. So Abram gave Lot an opportunity to decide. What did he? Where did he want to go? Left or right, east or west, whatever. And that was a choice that Lot could make. The land was better there. There was more grass, more water. On one side, the other side was more drier. But there was a bad influence at where the greener grass was. There was the wicked city, a very evil city. the choice that Lot made, that gave him trouble later in life. The people in Lot were in Sodom and Gomorrah, they were very wicked, and they had a big influence on the family of Lot. And so when Abram was 99 years, so that is 24 years later. I'm not sure when Lot moved there, but when he was 99, God came back to him through his angels and spoke to Abram, promised him that they would have a baby. Within a year they would have a baby boy. God kept his promise. It had taken long, but through that, Abram was faithful, believed in God, and did what God wanted him. God was able to continue to work in Abraham. At the same time, when he came to give them the news that they would have a baby, he also brought them the bad news. He brought bad news about Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot lived. They would be destroyed. Abram was very concerned about it. Would you be destroyed if there was still a few people in there? He started with 50 people, questioning God. Would you be destroyed if there was 50 good people? And they kept on going down. God said, no, if it's 50 people, I won't do it. And they came down to a very low number, and God still said he wouldn't destroy it. There was just a few good people in there, but God had decided that the city needed to be destroyed. So most of you probably know the story of how the angels went to Lot's house and took them out of the city before the fire came, before he would send the fire. But what we see, what had really influenced them was that the wife of Lot, she could not stand leaving the city behind. When they walked out of the city, the angels were taking them by the hand. She looked back. She wanted the old life. She could not give up the old life. She made a choice, and she turned into a pillar of salt, dead, because of a choice that she made. So there is small choices. For Lot, it was the better grass, and he did not realize that would have a big influence on him later in life. He had to leave the city, and his wife stayed behind. In Daniel 6, we read a story of Daniel. He also had to make decisions. He was in a faraway country. He was taken from his home country, and he was in the king's palace, which was probably a great. I think a lot of people were envying him that he had the opportunity to be in the palace with the king, and he was one of the top 4, I think, in the kingdom. But there was people that were envying him. They didn't like that the king had put him in such high position. So they came up with this idea that they would find something that they could get Daniel out of his position. And the only thing they could figure out was his prayer life. He prayed to God every day. 3 times a day he would pray. So they came up with this idea. They would they would convince the king that if anybody prayed to someone else than the king, asked a question to somebody else than the king, that person would be destroyed, be thrown into the den of the lions. Well, that sounded good to the king. The king thought it was a good idea. He liked honor, that everybody would come to him. And so he signed a law. With not thinking of everything, he did sign. And sure enough, didn't take much. Then Daniel went back to his house and prayed. He prayed with his face toward Jerusalem. Jerusalem, that's where the temple was, and that was his connection with God. And so they saw that he prayed through an open window, that he prayed to God, not to the king. Daniel made a decision. He could have closed the door, or he could have just done it in a locked up building. But he made a choice. He would do it just as he has always done it, that everybody could see it. And sure enough, the guys quickly ran to the king and complained and put in their case against Daniel. Daniel had not obeyed, so now he would have to be thrown into the den of the lions. The king was very sad. He was really disappointed. For him, that was not something he had wanted. The king liked Daniel. He liked Daniel, and he did not want him to die. But he had made a promise. He had put his seal on it, his stamp. It was a commandment now, and he could not back off. He had Daniel thrown in the den of lions, and he put his own seal there, and he said, May your God protect you. He went back to his house, his palace, for the night, but he could not sleep. After not sleeping all night, first thing in the morning he ran to the lion den, and he called. And sure enough, God had protected Daniel. And the king destroyed the others that had been against Daniel. He threw them into the lion's den, and they were eaten right away. Again, that was a decision that Daniel made. Daniel had the option of not doing it, but then he would have not obeyed God. He would have been troubled if he hadn't followed what he had done before, and how God would wanted him to do it. And the other story, the story of what Jesus said about the lost son in Luke 15. Luke 15 is the story of the prodigal son, they call it. The younger son was tired of working for his father, and he just wanted to go away. He wanted to have his own life. He asked for his dad's money, his part of the money, and just leave home. He made a decision. He just wanted to leave home. And the father gave him his money, and he left. He he went to a far country and he just spent the money on bad things. He blew it. He wasted it in a bad life. When his money was done, there came a very dry famine. There was a famine in the country. So there was no money. And the crops didn't grow well. So things were very bad there. He ended up feeding pigs, and he really would have liked to eat the pig food, but there was hardly even for that. He didn't have a good life. It was very terrible. Then he came to his senses. Then he realized, what am I doing here anyway? This doesn't really make sense what I'm doing here. My father has many workers and they have a good life. I will go to my father. He made a decision. I will go to my father. I am gonna go, and that's what he did. He made a choice and he went. He went, walked back, and his father was watching. He was watching the road, and he saw him coming, and he ran towards the son, and they hugged each other when they saw each other. The father embraced him. The son had decided he would go, and he did what he had decided. The father was so happy to accept him back. Just as Jesus is happy when we decide to come back. We in life, we're not always perfect. We do mistakes, but then it's very important that we make decisions. We make good decisions. We decide to, like the son here, he decided he would go back to his father, and he did. He didn't just stay there with the pigs and just thinking, well, I have decided I'll go back, but just sit there with the pigs. In our life, we're faced with the same. A lot of times we would like to go back and fix things up, go back to Jesus, go back to speak to a person that we have wronged, or go back to speak to maybe to Isaac, to share with him something that is on our hearts. But sometimes it doesn't happen. But this son, he did go, and he got the peace. He got the true freedom in his heart, because the Father forgave him, and there was no sins held against him anymore. He was willing to be called a servant, no longer a son. Have you made a decision to follow Jesus? That is the biggest and most important decision in life. For those of you that have made that decision, there are still many small decisions you have to make later on. You still have to continue to decide to decide again and again to come back to Jesus, fix up the life, the mess that we've made, but to continue to grow, to become stronger, better, more like Jesus. sometimes it's just a small thing. Sometimes it's just if we want to speak the truth. If we sometimes it's almost as if it's easier not to talk the truth, to lie about something, and then we have to come back and confess it. We have to change or make a decision to change before it comes too big, because if you're dishonest and not speaking the truth, it becomes a big problem. So we don't want it to become a big problem. Or with our thoughts, if we think immoral thoughts, well, just a small thought, but that if we don't make a decision to stop it, it will grow. It will become bigger. We'll start to act on it. We will make bad choices, and so it's very important that we stop it before it gets too big. To make a decision, to make a choice. God, I don't want to continue in this. I want to stop it. I want to do what is your will. So we want to encourage each other. There is a verse in John 6, verse 37. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will by no means cast out. Jesus is welcoming everyone, anybody with anything, any little sin in our lives. We can come to Jesus and he will in no wise cast us out. That means just there is just nothing that Jesus won't accept if we come to him. He will accept us every time, everywhere, in all situations. And that is an encouragement I want to leave with you today. Make wise choices in your life. Make choices that will lead to a life that aligns with Jesus. Jesus won't turn you away. He wants you to be in heaven with him, but he leaves the decision to us. The decision is on our side, and it's many times it's small decisions that we make. If we would just make the right choice, he will be faithful on his side. He is there to help us. Let's pray.